All right, second interview. I'm really excited. You're actually the second person that I thought about, Brian. And so for everyone who's listening, this is Soccer Appetite. And just the goal is to help provide information from experienced players through a conversation, and hopefully other people can learn from it. So uh, it's kind of crazy because you and I go way back. How old were you when I first started coaching you?
Was it like 14,
I think you were
13?
younger because remember you were
Younger?
like seven aside, and that took over when you guys went 11 aside. I think you guys were like U11.
Was it? I think actually now that I remember, I think so. It's like I was like 10 years old probably.
Yeah, I mean you
Yeah.
guys are pretty young. You know
Yeah.
what's were you so when I took over, you already played up top as a striker.
Mhm.
So what was it like? Did you just gravitate towards that position?
When I first started playing, I I wanted to be a goalie. And
Really?
then yeah.
Okay.
So I wanted to be a goalie and I was a goalie for half the game and a forward for the other half of the game. And then and then I started just watching Ronaldo play.
hmm
And then I was like, I told myself I didn't want to be goalie anymore. And then it took a while because the coach got mad at me for not wanting to play goalie anymore. And then I just switched to being a forward and stopped ever since. I stopped playing goalie and then it just went on from there.
And so as you made that transition, which is so rare to be so young to actually want to be goalie, as a coach, like you usually have to rotate players because you usually don't have like one person who's like, yeah, I'll be in the goal and maybe get scored on like 8 times and not feel really bad about myself at that age. Also, parents get very, cautious
Yeah.
of their, player being a goalie. But as you morphed into the striker, which obviously when I think about you, I think about striking. Like that's just you just love striking the ball. So how did you? So you mentioned Ronaldo. Did you watch a certain game? Did you watch a certain move that he did?
I would just watch his games and I would just see everything he does, like the scissors, the bicycles, like everything. And then I just got so like in love with it and I just wanted
hmm
to do the same thing that he was doing. Even though he's not a striker, he's a left forward. He
hmm
was a left forward back then, but it was still like the same thing and I just wanted to do the same thing he did and I just felt having more fun doing that than standing in goal
Did you used to go and practice on your own and like shoot on a goal, or
every day, every
every
day,
day?
every day.
And did you
I was
come
out there
with a
every day.
plan, or did you just like?
No, never. Honestly, no. I would just go out there. I mean, I would get my own stuff, get out there, and then I would sit down for a little at the park, think about what I was gonna do, and and then set up everything that I just thought about, and I would set it up and then get warm up and then get going with throughout my training. But
So I remember you used to strike the ball like you were a laces guy.
mhm.
Is that still the case, or do you, I mean, do you have more in
I
your
mean,
bag these days, as the younger generation says? Because I don't use
I
that
mean,
term, but I know you're up to date. So, like, do you put more spin on it now, or do you slot
yeah.
it
I mean,
more?
it just depends on where what where I'm at positioning wise.
hmm
And it just depends how I strike it. But I mean, I love hitting a little knuckleball every now and then. But
Do you take set pieces these days?
every once in a while I do, not all the time though. Um,
Mm. So you played striker definitely in your youth.
hmm
To kind of fast forward a little bit. So I stopped coaching you when you were around what, 16, 15?
Maybe like 17
Yeah, actually.
around there.
So I coached you for quite a while. What was your journey afterwards? Like what happened after and we'll go back to some good club stories, but Like what happened after your time as a youth player?
As a youth player,
Yeah.
um, I went to college at a D2 school in Colorado for a
Mhm.
year and a half. I didn't really, I mean, I didn't feel like myself out there, so I couldn't play soccer the right way or enjoy it the way I love it. So I came back home, made this team over here called Oaks FC. It's like in the UPSL semi-pro team,
Mhm.
and I've been playing with them ever since. And now I'm just looking, I'm going back to school and finding the right school that I would appreciate and I could, play the game.
So let's go back. So D2. So obviously you got recruited. So did you prepare? Did you look at other schools? Did you have like a highlight reel? Like how did you end up going there?
Honestly, this was the most surprising thing ever. Even, I mean, my whole dream ever since I was little was to go pro, to go
Mhm.
pro, to go pro straight. I didn't want to go to college. I just wanted to go pro. I was at a I was at a tryout with the Switchbacks from the USL Championship,
Okay.
and then as I went to this tryout, I guess the coach for that university was there, and he saw me, and he was like, "I want you to come to my school," and that's how I got recruited. I wasn't even looking at any schools or anything. Just
So
it just happened in a heartbeat.
so when you look back, would you say that you didn't have enough guidance post youth and going into college?
I would say, yeah. I mean, I was the first person to ever in my family, at least,
Mhm.
to like go to school and
That's
everything, and
huge.
like it was really difficult, especially like mentally and emotionally. Like it was one of the hardest things I had to do for sure, and it's hard. It takes over. You can't play soccer the right way, and then that starts hurting, and then it's not good.
Yeah, because I remember you also being a little bit more of a not an over emotional player, but I would say like you borderline on the emotion of the game, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah. I
everyone's
mean,
different. So speak to me more about your journey at the Division 2 school because I think what I would like to help people with is understanding like the transition because you kind of mentioned it like if you're not feeling right. So obviously you say Colorado?
yeah.
So looking back, would you have stayed closer to home so you could feel maybe, tight with your family and play? Or like what was the reason why you
Um,
felt so disconnected?
yeah. I mean, yeah. I would have loved to play closer to home for sure, but I mean, you prepare yourself, and like when you're going out of state or something, and you just gotta prepare yourself. And I mean, not even my family knew how to prepare themselves, so I mean, like, I didn't know how either. So, which is we were just stuck. So, I mean,
What would have helped, if anything?
maybe someone with like that's had experience could have told me or something. I don't know, somebody to talk to for sure. But I mean, I just had to deal with it.
Yeah, so you pretty much so how did you get there? Did your dad drive you? Did you fly
Yeah.
in?
No, because we took my car, so my whole family went. My sister, my brother, my mom, my dad. We all went, and then we were there for like a week. They Then I drove them to the airport. Then they left.
I'm sure it was emotional, man.
Yeah, that was the hardest thing ever.
Um, what was the interaction like with the team and the coach? Like, did they? Every program's different. I know, I know Samson is very into like that culture of like him checking on his players and asking them how they're
Hmm.
doing. So much more of a relationship, like father to son type.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, was that the vibe, or was it more like you're on your own?
I mean, it was a little bit of both. Like, I mean, it was kind of like pretty much just you on your own. There was there were some players though that they care about you and they would like talk to you and everything. Like some players that were there on the team.
Hmm.
So that was like one of the things that got me through was like being close to a certain group of the soccer players, and they would just help. Especially it would help. It helped a lot more because one of the players was from California as well,
Mm.
from down from LA. So it helped for sure.
So when you got recruited, like, what was that process like? So obviously the coach liked you, which I'm not surprised.
Uh-huh.
Like, did he contact you and say, "Hey, like, we want you. You're going to be a starter. We have X." So because rosters are pretty deep at the college
Yeah,
level.
yeah, they are very deep.
Like the biggest roster I've had in club is 22. That was like an older girls team. So like college level like 28, like 30
Around the
sometimes.
31. I think we had 31 players.
31 players.
Yeah.
And how many goalies?
I think there was three or four.
So essentially you're battling for like 27 spots out of
Yeah.
27 spots.
Hmm.
What was that like? Like, did you feel like, did you go in? I mean, I kind of know you, but like, I'm curious, did you go in like, I'm gonna go be a starter, or were you kind of like, uh-oh, like,
No, I was going in as wanting to be a starter, you
mhm.
know, never gonna look for less. Just, I know what I'm capable of, and I just need to work harder. And if the coach thinks the other player is better, then I can learn from that player too. I mean,
Hmm.
it's just a learning process. It's not really. And I know some players when they go in, they say they're going to be a starter in something, and they don't get us to be a starter, and then it really gets to them, and then that's where it all ends off right there because you're just not going to want to keep playing soccer. You're not going to want to enjoy it, and it's not how it works. I mean, a lot of coaches see different things. Just talk to your coach, and he'll let you know what else to work on for the future, and then one day you'll be a starter.
So it sounds like for you, the tough part was actually just like being in Colorado.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, that was definitely the toughest part.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you didn't necessarily struggle with having to start, not start. You were willing to, if you didn't start, like
Um,
kind of,
well, yeah, I mean, it was a bummer for sure. I mean, when I wasn't starting or anything, but it definitely hurt. But I mean, you just got to learn from it and move on. I mean, you're not going to start at everything, at every team you go to, even
where
though
did you
you
form
may,
that mentality? Because that's a pretty like, how old were you when you first went? 18, 17?
yeah.
That's a pretty mature response, you know? Like,
Um, yeah, I mean, talking to my dad for sure. My dad helped me through that a lot because I mean, he said like, you're not going to start every team you go to, and even though you think you should, I mean, the coaches see other things. There's many players out there that are better than a lot of the players that are playing D1, and
mhm.
they've never got a chance. But it's just how it works. And even though it sucks, but you'll get through it, and it gets better for sure.
So since so since you went through this journey of like leaving essentially like LA, Ventura County to go living in Colorado, what would your advice be to someone who's going to be heading out, say like away from home, like not just around the corner, like they're going to be pretty far away?
I mean, I would say talk to someone for sure. Definitely talk to someone with a lot of like they just know a lot of experience. Just talk to someone unless you
Like
just like the
players, coaches, or
anything, players, coaches, even a family member. It doesn't have to be like a, an athlete or anything. Just someone that has gone away. I mean, unless you like being away from home, but
what did you miss most about home? Was it just the interaction with your family? Was it a certain kind of food?
uh, my parents, my
Your
brother,
parents?
my sister.
Mm. Yeah, I remember your family on the sideline during games. I remember. Do you remember when to kind of go back to the youth days. Um, I remember your dad would buy you cleats every time you scored a goal or something like that. Do you remember
It would be,
that?
yeah, it would be something like that. I think it was more than one goal though. I think it was like maybe like hat trick or something.
You had to get a brace, maybe a brace or a
Yeah,
hat trick.
yeah, probably something like that.
Um, when you look back at your youth days playing, what did you love about it, and what pushed you to become better?
My youth days.
Yeah, because you clearly have a passion, like you love the game, like so when you look back at when you used to play, club in the at your young ages, when you
I
look
mean,
back, like you're like, oh man, that one time, or
the passion just came came along. I've never really like went out looking for it or anything like that. It just happened to be in me, and I didn't. It's like I wasn't looking out to love the sport. It just happened to grow into me, and that's where I grew my passion from. And it's just it was like it's just. I mean, there's nothing you can hate about the sport. Honestly, it's just a very emotional, like happy, like everything's just all in one sport. Like you just you just enjoy it every time.
so. I spoke to you yesterday on the phone before we were gonna set up this call, and I
Mhm.
said that there's always one story that comes to my mind, and I'm not sure if you thought about it some more after our phone call, but
I'm I'm
do you?
pretty bad at remembering stuff.
That's okay.
You gotta tell me.
Do you remember your first red card?
Oh my God, yes I do.
Do you want to tell the
Yes I
story
do.
first?
I remember it clearly. It was against DMS.
Yep.
We were in, what was it, Thousand Oaks? Was it Thousand
Mm-hmm.
Oaks?
Mm-hmm.
I had a yellow card and we were winning. The ball went out of bounds and you told me to kick it. And I kicked it and you didn't know I had a yellow card and the ref came up to me and gave me a second yellow card and I got a red card. Yeah, I remember that now. Like it
It
was
honestly,
yesterday.
it kills me. It kills me because I'm not saying I would never not do that again to encourage a player to, manage the time.
Yeah,
But yeah, you said it perfectly. We're in Thousand Oaks playing DMS. I think we're up like just 1-0, close
yeah,
game as usual. Yeah, you had a yellow, and then you're on like, and then the minute he blew the whistle, I was like, oh no. And then like I felt so, and I remember you just like your
mm,
shoulders just like slumped
yeah,
because you were suspended now. Like it wasn't like you
yeah.
were just like out for the game.
I mean, honestly, when you told me to kick the ball, I wasn't even thinking about it.
I
I just
know.
did it. I was just like, I'm doing it. I just forgot about my yellow card too.
Oh my gosh. And I remember going up to your parents after the game just being like, I'm so sorry. But I mean, at least it's a great story that your first red came from not yourself, but actually, unfortunately, your
My coach.
inexperienced club coach at the time. Um, does another point in time when you used to play at that age come to mind? Because obviously, your team had a lot of success back to back years. But I do remember our one of our years we struggled to kind of compete. It was like our last year in gold
Mhm.
because we just didn't have enough to get over that hump,
Yeah.
and do you remember like us going over like low pressure and you guys were like 13 and like
Hmm.
having like a low block and almost trying to like counter? Do you remember that game at Pleasant Valley? It was against I think it was against like Oxnard or someone that was good, maybe Santa Barbara, and it
Oxnard,
was like 0-0. Like
Oxnard
it was,
United.
and it was like
Yeah.
I think they got a free kick or something with like 2 minutes left, and they scored, and like
They did?
yeah, and we ended up losing like 1-0. It was like super close, and you and a bunch of the other guys were just like, because it was like
I think
again like when we were in gold, like it was we had to sit back to compete. Like
mhm.
it wasn't
Yeah.
like before
No,
where
we had to defend pretty much.
yeah. So I'm interesting to think about to receive such, tactic at a young age. How has that like translated as you gotten older?
You know, honestly, everything I was told that was like taught to me as a young age has definitely, I've heard it so many times at an older age. Like, I don't even know. Like, it's just everything all my coaches have told me from the youth level.
Hmm.
It's just all being brought up again, like all at once, though. It's not like through the years. Now it's just all at once.
Mm.
Mm, yeah, but it's definitely, I mean, they like say, and then I like remember, and I'm like, oh, like, so
So do you
it's
feel like
definitely,
more relaxed because you have heard it so much that you weren't, it's not like a new concept?
yeah, it's definitely important to like to remember everything your coaches say,
Mm.
even though you think they're wrong, because they might be right. But,
So let's fast
but
forward. So you go to Colorado, you come back, and
mhm.
what essentially like why did you come back?
It was mostly like just my mental health and
Mm.
everything, because I mean, I went from my dad coming to every practice of mine to my family coming to every game to
Mm.
me doing everything by myself, eating food, going to the store, to practice, to my
Adulting.
games. Yeah,
Mm.
I mean, it was definitely hard for sure, hard process,
So
but
so let's ask a deep question. So if you were more independent before you left, would that have helped?
um, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it would help. It would definitely help for sure. Just,
Mm.
I mean,
It's still going to be hard regardless,
yeah,
but but it
it
sounds
was,
like you missed a lot when you went to Colorado.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So you come back after a year,
Hmm.
and then what did you do right when you got back?
I started training. This was around like spring break, I
Hmm.
think. So everyone was back, and I just went out and trained. And then I think that following Wednesday, one of the coaches from Oaks FC contacted me, and then I went and played, and we played our first year at Nisa Nation.
Hmm.
And then ever since, I've just been on Oaks FC, just playing games with them, playing against LA Galaxy, LAFC. So it's good competition.
And how's that experience been? Like, so for those that don't know, can you kind of get a little background about Oaks FC for those who don't know?
Oaks FC is a team now at playing UPSL Premier. It's a semi-pro team, and yeah, the most the most interesting one was when we played LA Galaxy. Actually,
Yeah,
we
tell
played
me
LA
about it.
Galaxy. We went down to the locker rooms. all the
The
LA
actual
Gal
locker
all
rooms?
the actual locker rooms,
Mm.
and we had those like locker rooms down there, and then obviously not the one like they have like where the visitor team goes to,
Hmm.
but we were passing by, and then the first team of LA Galaxy, they were in like a team meeting in there. That was like
Wow.
probably one of the coolest like memories I could have had for sure. I mean, we were in the same locker room as a MLS team.
Yeah. So obviously, it sounds like it was natural for you to make the decision to play for Oaks FC. Um, would you do it again?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I would. I would. It's a cool experience. You play against a lot of cool teams, cool stadiums for sure.
Yeah.
Stadiums are very nice. The fans are great too. Fans are great. I mean, you get a lot of love for sure.
So
And I mean,
so what's the trajectory from here? So I mean, and before we even go into that, like I'm curious what the regiment is like for a semi-pro team, because every program's different. So
Hmm.
like give me a week for Bryan at Oaks FC.
Practices are Monday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 7 p.m. I mean, you just go to practice, and if you want to be a better player, you just work on your own before and the days off. I mean, you don't really get like a thing to do, like most professional soccer players would get,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not a pro yet, so you gotta keep working hard on your own until you reach the goal.
So it sounds like it's very independent in terms of continuing to aspire to, get to the next level.
Yeah, it's independent, but if you're with the right coach or something and they have a lot of connections, they can always help whether it's college wise or professional teams. I
And
mean,
at Oaks FC, like, how are the sessions? Are they, I'm sure they're definitely without a doubt organized, but in terms of like, do you guys have like walkthroughs? Do you guys have like, different kind of shapes you guys play depending on who you're playing? Do you guys adapt to certain teams? Like, do you have film sessions?
um, yes, we do, and it's just, I mean, we don't really like do walkthroughs or anything like that. We just do the drills, and then we go straight into like a little scrimmage.
Mm.
But if it's sloppy, we're running after, so we just can't let it get sloppy. And then these things called like, oh man, I don't even remember. It's like they're like he uses numbers like
Mhm.
to use like a 1-2, but he uses like weird numbers like different numbers like a triangle. He uses like I mean he says 90 and then there's like 180 or stuff like that, and you just gotta like remember everything he's saying because
Mhm.
it's different. And if you get it wrong, I mean, he's gonna get after you.
So you mentioned there about a little bit of like the coaching, like what has been your experience with coaches in terms of who do you connect with as a coach? Because I think doing research before players leave club or even when they go to club is really important because every coach is different, every relationship is different. But do you perform better with a coach that you feel like has your back, or does it not matter? Like you're just there to play? Like what would you, if you could like pick a certain type of coach, what would you like want or need?
I mean, it would obviously help for sure if you had a coach that has your back. You know, you don't want to feel like your coach doesn't have your back because then you just don't really want to play for them. I guess that's me.
Mm.
But I mean, that's how I would look at it. I mean, if your coach doesn't have your back, I mean, it's just kind of like why play for him?
Have you
You
had
know?
experiences where you felt like disconnected from a coach and it kind of like hampered your drive or motivation?
Yeah, for sure. I've had experiences, and I mean, it's not really been a time where I'm like I'm gonna quit or anything like that. But I
Yeah.
mean, definitely like you just bummed out and you're just like I don't want to play for this team anymore. I want to get out of here, something like that. But you just gotta keep going. I mean, coaches are different. They could be rude, and even if they're mean to you, like or anything, I'm sure they still care about you. Otherwise, they wouldn't want you on their team. You know?
So you mentioned being punished by having to do sprints. As a player, how do you feel about that? I mean, I know you're the kind of player that you're going to follow the coach's lead, but from a player's perspective, let's say you guys are training and you guys are just off. Like, do you kind of just say, yeah, it makes sense that he's going to have his run? Or do you kind of say to yourself, like, maybe there's a better approach? Do you not care?
Um,
Because before you answer, I'll give you an example. I remember one of my sessions earlier on, I made my team run, and then the coach afterwards who saw that pulled me aside privately and said, "What are you reinforcing by having them do sprints as a punishment?" And I really stopped and thought about it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm making them think that having to do fitness, quote unquote, is a punishment versus thinking about fitness as a means to become fit."
I've never thought about it like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's better ways you can go through that with a punishment, you know? I don't think sprinting is always the answer.
Have you
But
had other forms of, punishments like aside from
yeah,
sprinting?
yeah, in college, the coach would bring us in, he would talk to us, yell at us, pretty much yell at us. But I mean, he wouldn't make a sprint.
Mm.
He
Did
would just,
that did that yelling help?
I mean, yeah, I did because I mean, he would tell us like what's gonna happen, like this and that, like how it's gonna go from now on and stuff like that.
So
So,
here's a great question for you, Brian. If and when maybe you coach one day, are you going to be a coach who obviously you can't say like you'll never do it because I've also done it when I was younger. I don't do it to this day, but um, doesn't make me right or wrong. Obviously, it's all subjective. But like, would you be a coach that would probably make them do sprints if they weren't you know working hard?
no, I don't
What
think
would
so.
you do, Coach Brian? Put on the coaching hat for a second. Feel the pressure for a sec. What would you do? Your coach,
And
your team is not responding to you. They're not maybe working as hard as you would like. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
and they're grown men.
No, let's go with a youth team. Let's
Oh
go with
man,
like a 12-year-old team of boys. Oof.
so they were grown men. I would just send them home.
Okay. Go home.
Um,
All right.
the youth players. I mean, I would try and talk to them, and if it doesn't work, then get them to running. I don't know. I don't know. I've never really thought of being a coach. Uh,
Is coaching that something that would be in your locker one day, do you think? Or are you
mm,
more just like a Ronaldo type
I
where, I'm not
uh,
gonna put it out there that he won't coach, but I mean, chances of someone like Ronaldo coaching, not so high.
I don't think so. I don't think I could coach, honestly. I mean, I would do some personal training
Yeah, I
for
think you'd be a
sure,
great personal trainer.
but I don't think I would be a great coach, honestly. I can't deal with the kids and stuff, and I don't like watching a whole game. I would just want to be in there. So
Yeah, you're still a player.
yeah,
So it's so funny when you when we're having this conversation, I have so many questions come to my head, but what to you determines like a quality coach? Because it's very subjective, right? But like if you could have like two or three things, like let's go with youth. Like as a youth player, you look back and you say like these two or three qualities is what I would look for from a club coach.
Hmm. Definitely someone who like cares like about you and the team, and I mean someone who works you hard for sure. Because I mean you're gonna need it even in the long run, even if you don't want it to.
Mm.
Um, and just someone who motivates you, I guess. Uh, yeah.
What form of motivation is something that you look for? Is it like, is it like now that you're older, is it like do you have like music or a certain like, you know, not necessarily celebrity, but like an athlete or
Um, just like as a form of motivation.
yeah, like if you're like before a game or a big game, what's your routine to get like pumped up?
I mean, I just honestly like I just think about what I always dreamt of, and that's just, I mean, that should be good enough. I mean, I don't know. It's my dream, my goal, the thing I want to do the most. So just, I don't just want to make everyone in my family proud and just go on with it. I don't
Um,
really have like, I don't really have like a routine or anything, honestly. I
yeah.
just think about life.
So because I feel like I'm not sure if you recognize this. So you're someone that kind of got locked in at a young age mentally really well. So is it sounds like for you because of your passion, it was easier for you to lock in because um what are your thoughts on the concept or the idea or conversation of when you're competing, whether it's in training or a game, you can't be who you are as a personality when you're with your family. You have to be someone kind of different. So the environment's kind of demanding, at least if you want to be competitive, to be someone different for that period of time. Like, have you kind of thought about that? Like, or had like, do you even realize that you're kind of somebody else for that 90 minutes or, practice session?
I mean,
So, for example,
no, I'm
like,
just,
like some people don't like the phrase, but like it's like the dark side because like you can't be the same person. Like Brian
mm,
can't be how he is with his little brother when he's playing a game. Like so that switch of mentality like is so it sounds like for you your dream of becoming a professional soccer player is like that switch.
yeah, I've never really thought about it like that, honestly. Mm,
Yeah, it's interesting because I think one of the challenges that youth club or youth coaches face, even maybe at the older ages as well. But it's like being being okay that you have to be someone else, like or understanding to maybe put yourself in a better position to be successful. You have to
mm,
be somebody else. So, for example, like when I pull up to the parking lot of the field that we're playing at, as soon as I get out of the car, like I'm not texting anyone, I'm not listening to music, I'm super quiet. I'm kind of
mhm,
like isolated from like even like my players or my parents. Like I don't want to get into conversations. So you start to get into the zone of hyper focus, and so I always noticed that with you when you were young. Like you just got, you know, again, lack for a better phrase, like you got locked in.
yeah.
Do you think you are that way all the time, or is it like certain moments?
Mm. Honestly, I think I am that way all the time. I mean, it's just like staying focused. I don't know. It's just, I've never really like thought about it. Honestly, I guess it just came with me. I don't know. It just grew in onto me, and I just do it every time. But it's just something that just happens. I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I mean, better. I mean, I just stay focused. I don't really like. I mean, I don't really like talking to anybody either before the game.
Mm-hmm.
I just, I just like keeping everything to myself, staying quiet. And then once the game starts, then it's game on.
Yeah, you just go. That's
Yeah.
what's again, you had a very natural ability, to just kind of lock in like that. I think it's probably what's made you be so successful so far is
Mm.
you're in it, man. Like you just go. So if you could reflect back and be honest, what would you have done differently, or what would you have improved on, or what would you have worked on, or what would you have done to put yourself in not necessarily a better position, but like to maybe have gotten to get close to where you want to get.
Mm.
Like if you could talk to younger self Brian at like 14, right, an age where you start to kind of think about Is this what I want to do? Especially going
Yeah,
forward. I mean, it sounds like you had that dream really early on, but
yeah,
would it be training, and would it be training a certain way? Would it be working on your non-dominant foot? Would it be watching more games and like analyzing it? Would it be working on your body? Would it be working on your mind? Like what for you would you have wanted to improve on?
definitely working on my body, eating. If you want to be a pro, you got to treat yourself like a pro, even if you're not a pro. So you got to do everything they do. And I wish I could have done that and started earlier. If everyone does that when you're younger and you do that throughout the whole time, I mean, you have, I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but you have a pretty good chance of achieving that goal and dream for sure because you're going to be ready for
Mm.
anything. But yeah, I mean, you just got to treat yourself like a pro. I mean, they didn't get there by eating pizza and hamburgers and fries and chips. I mean, I'm sure they have some, but I mean, you just gotta eat right, train right, treat your body well, recover, everything just day and night, sleep early, wake up early, and do the same thing all over again.
So you kind of like laid it out. So is that your vision of not like perfectly, but obviously, like, is that what you envision as a professional athlete body, like that kind of routine?
Yeah, I mean, being on a diet, training every day, um, recovering every day. I mean, I'm sure they have times where they go and have fun and everything, but I mean, I'm
Hmm.
sure they don't go out every weekend. They don't, you know, they don't do anything. I'm sure there's players that do, but they're not as successful for sure,
Mm.
you know. But yeah, definitely treating your body well is big, big part of
So,
soccer.
so it sounds like when you look back, that what age would you have felt that it would be necessary for you to start that? I mean, I know I love what you said,
Mm,
because what you said is actually what a friend of mine, a colleague of mine said. So my colleague would ask a player, "What's your dream?" And if the player said to be a pro, and he would say, "Well, it starts now, like today." Like,
yeah.
just exactly the way you said it. So it was really cool how you said it. What age do you feel like that's appropriate, or is it more like the drive, the appetite of the player that should determine that?
I think it's just the drive of the player because I mean you can't just force yourself into um starting to train like a pro and then working like a pro is not. I mean, you can't just grow into it. You gotta love it. So I guess it's just on the player. You can't really say an age. I
So
mean,
you
it's
would be
never.
comfortable if you had a future little Bryan, and he was 8 years old, and you can tell he just fell in love with soccer. Would you slowly start having him do a little bit more, and then like if he wanted to do more, you would add more, or would you say no, I'm gonna wait until he gets like a little bit older?
As soon as he turns one, get in it. No, no, no. Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't push him too much because he's still little. But I mean, if he's the one that wants to keep playing and kicking the ball or anything, I mean, that's fine with me. And if he wants to start training or something, then
Hmm.
I'll train him. But I don't want to force anything onto my kids. They can they'll figure it out on their own.
Mm.
They'll I'm sure they'll love it. They have to. It's in our blood.
Yeah. Do you think it's realistic, based on your experience playing in club, to have a club be the reason that mm, provides the protocols of performing at a certain level as a professional, or is it more you have to go find it on your own?
Like what the depending what club you're on.
So let's say like you're 14, you're at just a regular club, just a normal, club. You realize that you need to be doing more. Do you look for the club to answer that, or is up to the player to answer that.
Um, like like you wanting more, needing more.
Hmm.
I mean, I would say it's up to the player. You know? Like, I mean, everything's all up to the player. I mean, a club can't really force you to do anything.
But in terms of providing the outlet, because you had a high appetite, you still have a high
Hmm.
appetite for the game. I'm thinking about myself now based on our conversation. To be honest with you, I almost feel like I didn't prepare you well enough, but I also can say that I wasn't the coach I am today when I was coaching you. So I wish I was where I'm at now when I was coaching you at 11 years old. Um, but we can't go back in time. So I guess for the future generation, I guess it's like, what's the best way to prepare yourself for your dream?
And honestly, probably
Yeah.
playing for like an MLS next team.
Mm.
That's probably like, I mean, you check out all the UCLA players, their whole roster played for an MLS academy team. I mean, there's not a single player that didn't play for an MLS academy team. And some of them are, I mean, they're good, obviously, but I mean, there's better. I've seen better players. I've played with better players, and they just don't get looked at because they're not on an MLS team. You know?
So you think playing for an MLS next team or club is the pathway?
Yes, 100%. If you get the coach wants you on one of those teams, then take it because it helps a lot. I mean, have a lot of connections. They can put you on a lot of rosters. They can take you anywhere. I mean, they literally have everything. I mean, they train you like a pro. I mean, I saw the LA Galaxy's academy team training facility, their gym. They have their own gym, their own food place where they keep their diet. I mean, it's just crazy the way they get treated. So,
So yeah, so it sounds like having a better structure. So let's say that a player doesn't have the ability to put themselves in that environment.
uh-huh.
Let's
Okay.
say they're not near that kind of environment. What's the next best option? Because those are all environments that have been
Yeah,
created,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Um, if you can't, if you don't have, or if you
Well,
don't
let's
get the
say you even try
chance,
out. I mean, let's say you try
yeah,
out for MLS next team, right? And you get
and
the
you
the
get
worst news
denied.
possible that you didn't make it.
Uh-huh.
Then what do you
Um,
do?
I would just say just keep training, keep looking for a new environment, and one day the right team is gonna pop up, and you're just gonna. I mean, you can you can go anywhere you want. I mean, it doesn't really have to be an MLS academy for you to go off or anything, but just it's just what makes it easier for your dream to come true for sure. But you don't. I mean, by all means, I have friends that made a pro out of high school and they didn't even play for an academy team or anything like that. So,
So let's stick with that for a second. So what what was it about that person, the one that you mentioned that from high school went professional? Like, what was it?
mm, I mean, he was just, you could just tell he was just, it's not that he was a better player than the other players or anything. He was just more driven. He was more
Mm,
driven. He was more, he was working harder and everything. And I mean, that's why he's just where he is. I mean, it's nothing like, it was like news that wasn't going to happen, you know?
mhm.
It's coming one way or another.
So yeah, it sounds like it comes down to the personal drive, the motivation, like, which
Hmm.
actually Oaks FC, they had a conference a while back, and a gentleman spoke. Um, Forgive me, I don't remember his name, but I think he was the assistant coach for the North Korean team during the World Cup for the men's. He's not a coach there at Oaks FC. He just came to speak at a conference. And I'm curious what your reaction is to this. So he said to all these coaches, who do you think is going to really help that player reach their ultimate goal? And then a few coaches, gave their responses, and then he said, "It's the player." Like, you go to a field and you see coaches, myself back in the day, especially, raising their voice, yelling, screaming, and it's like, for what? Like,
Yeah,
if the player doesn't want to do what they need to do at this level to be successful, like, what I mean? Like, you can't force them. You shouldn't force them.
yeah. I mean,
So
if it gets,
yeah. So I guess again, I wasn't the coach I am today when I was coaching you, but if I could go back in time, Bryan, I think knowing the drive that you have and had at that age, having a coach be able to recognize that and then to help mentor you probably would have been helpful. Would you agree with that?
yeah. I mean, going back, yeah, for sure. I mean, I would, for me now, in my younger self, if I knew all the things that I knew, I mean, I would have, I would have gone to go play somewhere else, like, somewhere like, no disrespect to like any of the coaches, they were all great or
Hmm.
anything, but I mean, it would have just been better for my future. I
Hmm.
would have gone to an academy or something like that, and instead of staying, you know,
Hmm.
and I'm sure that would have helped a little. But,
You kind of touched on something there. So, at what point in time should a player leave their current environment for a new challenge?
um,
Because that's a pretty deep question. Because, let's say you started at this club and then you're there for, let's just call it 4 years. You're going to make
mhm,
friends, your parents make friends, maybe your coach and you have a good relationship. And yeah, you've had some success, but maybe you look around and you look at the motivation and drive of others, which should not be the factor for you, but like you're just also asking yourself, like, is this environment going to like push me to the next level?
um, definitely once you start seeing the other players that I'm like, start seeing the other players that aren't as motivated as you. I mean, you don't want to surround yourself with players that don't want to keep working or don't want to do this because if you surround yourself with them, you're just gonna want to do what they're doing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Whether if you surround yourself with great players and players who want to get better, you're not gonna be the one screwing around and them working hard. You're gonna want to do the same thing they're doing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as soon as that, and
So
you
do you
start seeing
remember a
that,
point in time that you kind of felt that way and then but you stayed instead?
yeah, I mean, I think I left too late for sure.
Mm. What age did you leave
But
from like one club to the next? Because I know you were at one club for a long period of time, and then you kind of, I think you left what, the last 2 years?
yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the last 2 years and probably the best decision I ever made. And I mean,
Mm.
we won a lot of major trophies. I mean, we won Surf Cup, best of the best, like all those things. I mean, we had like probably like 30 college coaches on our sideline just watching us play. Like it was crazy. But
What's
I
that
mean,
like? Because I spoke about this in my last interview with Eric about how, like, if your dream is to play at this school, do you know how that school plays in terms of their philosophy, right? Um,
mm,
but how did you feel when you went in that field and you look and you see a row of college coaches? Because I remember my first time
mm,
like seeing that, I was like, like, like it's pretty. Because you know what it is? It's not even the coaches; it's like all their gear. Like
yeah, I
they
mean
got
they're
all
just
this
like
gear on, like Oregon
yeah,
with their dark black and green, and it's like,
yeah, they're just wearing
yeah,
blacked
head to
out.
toe. They look fresh, right? You're like, ooh,
Yeah,
okay, like,
with their little clipboard and everything.
yeah.
I
What was that
mean,
like?
it's just like it. This was like in the semi-final game, I think. Like this when this like when they all started like coming
Mm.
to us because I mean we were like probably the underdogs honestly, and we were probably outshining every team, like winning 3-0, 2-0. Um, and then during that semifinal game, we were warming up, and then all of a sudden you just see all the college coaches just coming in and out. There's probably like 30 schools there just preparing to watch us play.
Mm.
And then it was like, I mean, when you first look, you're like, damn. But then once the game starts, I don't really think about it. I don't think about anything else. I'm just focused in the game, so it
Hmm.
didn't really bother me.
Did you get
But
any bites after that event?
um, yeah, we a lot of us did for sure. But I mean, it goes back to high school grades and everything.
Oh,
You
so let's
know,
talk about that. So, did you have
yeah,
some restrictions there?
yeah, for sure. I mean, I probably was not capable of going straight to a 4 year if
Hmm.
that Colorado coach didn't pull any strings. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
S-
mean, if I could go back, I wish I could get my grades better. I mean, I'm sure I could have gone somewhere better.
What was your GPA when you graduated, or when you were getting recruited? Do you remember your rough
Yeah,
GPA?
like my throughout the 4 years, what they checked, it was like around 2.3, 2.5 around there,
That's pretty
maybe
low.
around there for sure.
Yeah.
So like when like these schools would like come around and talk to us or something, and then they would be interested, and then they would ask for our transcripts, and that's when they just stopped talking.
Okay, so this is awesome. I mean, this is what I want people to be able to hear. Like, so your team is sounds like balling out. Semi
Hmm.
is a surf cup, right?
Yeah,
And you have a row 30 coaches. They like you, like, ooh, I want this kid. And
they
then,
liked a lot of us too, but
mhm.
we were all bad at school, so
So it
like
sounds like
every
so that's a big piece, huh?
yeah.
What was it about school? Was it just school? Like you're not a necessarily big school
I
guy?
mean, not that. Mm, I just didn't. I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't too big into school, but I mean, if I could go back, I wish I could just do better for sure. I mean, it's not even for me; it's for my future. So,
Did you even
but
realize? Did you even put two and two together? Like, I don't need to be worrying about grades. I'm a good
while I
soccer
was on,
player.
while I was in high school,
Hmm.
no, I didn't even think about it. I was just like, I'm not even gonna go to school. I'm gonna go pro.
You're
I'm gonna go
you're
pro at
shooting that high. You're like, they don't need grades at professional.
uh, that's what I would tell. That's what I would tell my parents, and they would get mad at me.
I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did. How's your little
Yeah.
brother's grades?
Good,
How old is he
good.
now? Your little brother.
He's 14, 14.
Oof. So it's prime time. Is he
Yes,
still
it's
playing?
good. Yes, he is. He plays for MLS next Fusion.
Does he?
Yeah,
So he sounds like he's learning a little bit from Big
yeah. He's a,
Brother.
he's a defender though. He plays center back.
Mm.
He's a big dude though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he was always a big dude when he was when he was born, man. He was just like
mm,
he was just big, man. You know what's funny? I
yeah.
actually there's a photo that your dad took when I was coaching one time at practice, and your little brother was standing next to me,
I think I remember that
and
picture.
I had like it was a sweet like Nike windbreaker, and I had like a hat on, and then your little brother was like next to me, and it's those memories that you puts a smile on your face when you think about it. But
Yeah,
I'll have to look for that photo and maybe send to you. See, and he'll be like, "What?" Um, do you think your little brother watching you has helped him?
yeah, for sure. It's definitely helped him for sure. I mean, he pretty much just does everything I do, so
Mm.
just gotta keep following in the footsteps and
What are his
say every now and
aspirations? Do you know?
no, I don't. I would be lying if I did.
Mm.
I have no idea. I mean, I just know that he just does everything I do, so I just gotta
2.3
lead him the right
GPA.
way.
Are you gonna help him with that? You gonna give him some mentorship, big bro?
He knows. He knows. He knows. He gets good grades.
Does
Yeah,
he?
yeah, he gets good grades for
Mm.
sure. He,
So that'd be interesting, man. I mean, I would encourage you to ask him what his dreams are, and then kind of see from your experience if you can help him, give him some guidance.
hmm No, yeah, for sure. I mean, every now and then we talk. So,
It sounds like he definitely like looks up to you. Yeah,
yeah.
he always did
hmm
as a young kid. So
hmm Yeah.
what's that like having someone that's almost followed in your footsteps a little bit? I mean, obviously he's his own person, has his own passion, but like, do you feel
Yeah.
obligated to like help him at all, or do you want to help him at all?
Yeah. No, of course, of course. Always. He's my little brother. Um, it's just. I mean, I do everything I can to help him whenever he asks me. If he asks me a question, I'll answer it or anything. If I see something he's doing wrong or something, I'll tell him. But other than that, it's just like he's my little brother, so
Hmm.
we'll always be there for him, no matter what.
Yeah. What's his schedule like for his MLS next team? Like, what is it like? 3 days a week, 4 days a week?
Um, yeah, I think it's like around that 4 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah. Right now they're on break though, but yeah, it's four. I think it's around 3 to 4 days a week,
And
which is what I'm.
is he
Which is
training
what I.
outside?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I make him.
So it sounds like you're already kind of mentoring him a little bit, man.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I go out with him every once in a while.
Mm, that's awesome. Does he like watch film? Does he break down film?
No, not really. I mean, he's he just trains. I'm sure. I don't know. Maybe he does. I don't really know. I don't know. Maybe he does in his room. I don't really know, but I mean, he's enjoying the time for
Yeah.
sure.
That's so crazy. He's playing at that level, man. I just remember him being
Mm,
like a little kid, dude.
Yeah.
That's wild to think about. So Oaks FC, semi-pro. So what's next? What's the
Mm.
next step? B?
Thinking of going back to school.
Yeah. Do you have
Yeah.
a school in mind?
Mm, I mean, I've been in talks with a couple coaches, but nothing serious. I don't really know where. Just definitely around here. I might even go to junior college for a year or so.
Yeah.
Go on if I don't like the schools.
Because you only used up 1 year of eligibility, right?
And but I can only transfer one more year, one more time, to another NCAA school. So
Mm.
it's got to be the right school.
So are you thinking maybe JC and then go from there?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Mm. Well, I know the ultimate goal is to go to that next level.
hmm For sure.
So it sounds like you have some pretty good reflections of what you would have done that maybe you can start doing now a little bit more. You know what I mean?
hmm
Like your body and obviously your grades and kind of
Right.
putting yourself in a better situation. So
Yeah.
um, I'm gonna ask you some quick fire questions, and then I'll have you, if you would like, to ask a question or two. I know we've had such a long journey together, that we have a lot of part memories and stories. Some of these questions I think I know the answer to, but favorite soccer player?
Ronaldo.
If you when you reach that next level, what are you chasing? The money or the trophies?
Trophies. I don't really. I mean, I didn't. I've never really played for money. I didn't
Right.
work hard to just make a lot of money. And you can do that any other way.
The
Just,
money is like a bonus for you.
I mean, it's from all the hard work you put.
Okay.
You know,
Favorite pre-game meal?
just something simple. I mean, steak and rice, chicken and rice. I don't really have
Okay.
anything too big. I don't really like eating too much,
What's
not too
your
heavy.
what's your splurge meal?
Like after the game.
After the game, you just crushed it. You had a hat trick. Your dad bought you some new shoes. Where you gonna go to In and Out? You gonna go to Mickey D's? Where you gonna go?
Nah, nah, some pizza, Topper's pizza.
Pizza. Toppers?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
My
are
my
you a
favorite.
pineapple guy?
Nah, I'm
Thank.
not.
I really liked you, so I was hoping you would say no. Otherwise, if you said
I
yes, I
mean,
mean,
I just get pepperoni. It's simple.
pepperonis. Okay, all right. Um, Favorite holiday?
Mm, Christmas.
Why?
This is everyone's happy. It's enjoyable.
Yeah,
Uh, Everyone's around. It's not really. I don't know. It's not really a time you're gonna be sad or anything. So
yeah, yeah.
getting gifts.
um, favorite professional club that you kind of like follow or watch?
Real Madrid.
Is that because the Ronaldo era?
Nah, they just always been my. They've always been my team. I follow any team that Ronaldo's on, but Real Madrid's always my team.
Mm. Favorite manager, professional manager.
Sir Alex Ferguson.
Ooh, why?
This is the best coach to ever exist. I mean, I remember watching his games with Man U. They were crazy. Those were good games.
Fergie time.
Yep, always.
Um, yeah, yeah. And then let's wrap it up with favorite memory thus far of soccer. Just the first thing that comes to your head, like,
Honestly, I would have to say winning Surf Cup.
oof, that's a big accomplishment, man.
It was pretty cool. I mean, it was the O3s who played before us in the first final. They won, and then it was us who played in the second final, the O2s, and then we won. So we both got announced at the same time because we both played in the best of the best
Wow.
bracket, and we both won. And they were like, we were just the most. Even the people there, they were just like saying how we were like the most passionate, most like team that wanted it the most for sure. And we
Mm,
both we both won it at the same day, same time. And it was
mm.
crazy, crazy feeling, great feeling. Yeah,
Jeez.
probably one of the best memories ever, sure.
I'm like, I don't want to say got emotional, but it's like just to hear you have such joy and to get that success, that feeling that you just mentioned makes me really happy, man. Because I know how much you really love the game. Um, Before I let you ask a question or two, do you remember the bicycle kick you scored in like state cup?
Yes, from like outside the box,
Yeah,
was it?
dude,
Yeah, I
that
do.
was absolutely nuts.
I think not too long ago, Devin's mom just sent me the video.
No way. You gotta send it to me, man, so we can post
It's like
that, dude. I just
it's on.
remember your reaction was like, "Did I just like you did it and you started running, dude?" I think you ran.
Yeah,
Where'd you run? I think you ran. I
I
know the whole
remember.
team got crazy about it, but
I don't know. It's just I don't even remember. I just remember it happening.
and see, you know what's funny? It goes back to like just you, man. That's just like you wanted it. That was your drive. You know what I mean? So, oh man, that was crazy. I think that was what this round of 16.
Something like that
Yeah, we
for
went pretty
sure.
far that year. That was when State Cup was like deep too. When it was like a
I
lot
think
more
it was in like
teams.
I think it was in Lancaster, no?
Nah, I think we're in San Diego,
San Diego. It was
Oceanside or something like that. Yeah,
one of
yeah,
those
yeah. Because
two.
actually, I was at the fields recently. Yeah, down there. Yeah, that's why the memory was kind of fresh in my mind. I was like, oh, I remember
Mm-hmm.
that. I remember that. All right, man. um, do you have a question or two that you've been dying to ask, or something that came to your mind while we talked that you have?
No, I mean I don't have anything, honestly.
Ooh, you're gonna bail me out?
Oh, you want a question, huh?
No, I mean you don't have to give me a question. I'm giving you the opportunity, man. So if you have one, feel free to shoot one
I mean,
over. But
I, I don't have one, honestly. I don't.
man, you're my boy. See, this is why you're my boy. You're not asking me a question. I appreciate that, man. Well,
Okay.
as we wrap up, honestly, thank you for sharing your experience. I'm sure some of it was, very personal. Sure, actually, all of it was very personal. But I really do think there was a lot of information that aspiring youth players, if they heard and actually took to heart, that it could help them put themselves in a better situation. So, and then for you, just I'm proud of you. I know you haven't reached the level that you want to get to, but it's always been a joy to be around you. And like I said, I look forward to seeing where you end up, man. So I'm sure we'll be lifelong friends, but at the same time,
Yeah,
I want to help you get to that next level.
for sure.
So
Appreciate that. I mean, it all goes the same back to you, honestly. I mean, I just hope I achieve it. I mean, I'm sure once I achieve it, I'll be able to contact you and say,
I mean,
my
hey, I mean, if
son.
you want to throw me like a car or like, maybe like a house, I mean, or even how about like we make a deal where you give me like 5%. All right, you know what? I'll be your business manager. How about that? I'll be like your business manager.
That's my mom. That's my mom. That's
Okay, all
it.
right, hold on. I can't take over mom's spot. So let's see what's
Yeah.
left. Business manager. Would your mom be doing the finances as well? Was she okay? So she's gonna be
No.
doing finances. Okay, how about this? How about this? Like sponsorship deals.
Okay. Okay.
So
There you
I'll be
go.
like the broker that talks to
Mhm.
Nike and be like,
Okay.
nah, Brian needs to
There you go.
have this, and this. Otherwise, he ain't doing it.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so okay, all
I'll
right.
do
So your
that.
mom's like head of business, and I'm like sponsorship. We can figure out the title for it, but you heard it
I'll do
here,
that.
man. So hey, if you make it and you don't give me that opportunity, man, I'll be throwing this video back at you.
I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna send you to my agent, my father.
Also, man, you're gonna be like Neymar, huh? And like Messi, you're gonna have all your family be your crew. That's actually pretty smart, man. Surround yourself by those who are with you from day one.
Yeah.
Smart man.
Exactly.
All right, B. Well, I'm gonna sign this off. Again, I just want to say thank you,
Of
and I
course.
wish you all the best of luck. And I'm sure we'll be in touch, man.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Appreciate it.
see you, B.